Welcome to Podcast from the Pit, doing a little toy talk with our friend Shark Eyes, Sharky, or Adam. How you doing?
All of them work. I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Long day at work, but I look forward to this all day. Yeah. I mean, these don't really get a lot of views, and that's fine. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But I use them to not just put content out, but get to know my friends. And I consider you a friend. You've been on the show once or twice, and I've had nothing but positive interactions with you. I don't see that changing. So I wish I would have started recording earlier because finding out about your basketball history. That was so cool.
Yeah, there's a bit there. That's only a small sample size, but there's a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
That is awesome. All the way from Australia, and you love basketball that much. That is. Do you guys have a professional league over there?
Yeah. So we have the NBL, the National Basketball League, which is actually an affiliate with the NBA now in terms of for your young guys before they enter the league. A lot of them will come over here and play with us, and the NBA is like scouts our players and stuff now as well. So both of those are intersected at this point. And the NBL here is pretty popular. It's not the most popular sport. Obviously, Australian rules football and cricket, two Australian sort of big sports. And soccer's big here too, but the NBL does all right for itself.
That's good. I think Germany has baseball. Do you guys have any baseball over there?
We do have baseball, but it's not like hugely popular here.
Yeah. I'm one of the weird ones, I guess, because I'm older, that I still love baseball. It was something my dad and me and my brother bonded over when we were little, and still love it to this day. It's that and soccer are my two favorite sports, and they're just right there, neck and neck.
Well, like baseball is your national pastime. It'd be rude not to like it, right?
A lot of people over here hate it, though, because it's not fast paced. I like it because me and my wife can go to a game, carry on a conversation, and still enjoy the sport.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. I guess in a similar sense, over here, that's how cricket, I guess, is sort of perceived in some respects, and sort of, in the same vein that people can go there for a day out and, kick back and just watch the game unfold and, go grab a couple of beers, sit back, have a chat. But yeah, in all my years of traveling to the States, I've never once been to a baseball game.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I didn't get to go to one last year, and that's the first time in a long time. We used to get that's a 162 game season.
Yeah.
So there's like 80 something at home. Me and my wife used to get 20 game package season tickets for the Reds.
Yep.
We did that for years. We'd go to about half of them, sell the other half. And because it's like an hour and a half drive for us to go there and back, or go there, an hour and a half back. But we just have a good time. Sometimes we'd spend the weekend over there. We just make a trip out of it.
This begs the question, Casey, like considering like your proximity to Chicago, how come you never went for the Sox or the Cubs?
I've been to a Cubs game.
I know, but I mean, how come you never supported like either of those teams? Any reason?
Yeah, I was raised right.
Right. Okay. The trickle-down effect.
Yeah, where I lived, especially growing up, when baseball was more of a thing, there were 4 teams people liked. The Reds, because honestly, they're an hour and a half. Cubs, which is 4 hours away. Cardinals, which is 4 hours away. And the Yankees, just because they're the most popular team ever.
Okay.
So we were raised Reds fans, so we just never changed.
It's surprising that there's no Indiana-based team.
Just minor league for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, but none in the MLB. But they've got an NBA team.
and a football.
And football. Who's the football team for Indiana?
Colts. Indianapolis
The who?
Colts. Colts.
Oh, the Colts, of course. Yeah, absolutely. The Colts. I thought you said the Hope. I'm like, the Hope? Who's that? Yeah, the Colts.
I'm a
yeah.
mumbler. I mumble a lot.
It's also, my speakers on this laptop aren't fantastic too. The volume's quite low, so I'm paying as much attention as possible. I assure you.
That poodle's not helping either. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. It's fun. We discussed this just before.
For anybody watching and listening, sorry, Jay gets excited when people walk by the window.
Ah, you've got one of those ones. That's how my Sherlock is.
Yeah. My daughter, that's her dog. Her name's Jade. She's a big standard poodle.
Yeah.
She's a big lap dog, but she protects the window.
Yeah.
I have a mutt. She's like 14 pounds. She thinks she's a pit bull, and she's right next to her protecting that window. And it's hilarious. Yeah. It's like two grouchy
the clinical term for that is called barrier reactivity. And my dog Sherlock, who is a bloodhound cross Rhodesian Ridgeback, we have a window because we live on a corner block on a main road, okay? And our house has like a pedestrian footpath running right outside our lounge room window, right? There's no fence because it's an old shop, so we have the dwelling at the back of the shop, right? And a lot of foot traffic, right? And our couch actually happens to be up against that wall where the window is. So Sherlock can run, jump on the couch, and his front feet are on the top of the couch, and he's at the window, right? We had to install Perspex shields. So let's say that's the window. The Perspex shield sits back about this far from it, right? So he hits the Perspex shield so he doesn't go through the glass because one time he went through the glass.
Oh.
Yeah. And he didn't get a scratch on him.
Well, that's amazingly. A good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah. We put like this cabinet up in front of the window that they bark out of. And they would just sit on the back of the couch and look. There's a window above the door. And they'll sit back and just watch out that little window for somebody to come by. Or when the door shuts, somebody shuts a car door. Oh.
Yep. And directly across from our house, we have a panel beater. So there's like lots of cars and people going to the panel beaters, and the panel beaters who work there, there's heaps of them. So they're coming in and out of the workshop, and there's people always. There's like, it's a thoroughfare. It's so busy. So our windows get a lot of work out from our dogs because we've also got the little one who's a Chihuahua cross Jack Russell, and she runs across the couch and window like this back and forth. Mayhem, Casey. It's absolute mayhem.
Yep. So, you know, I find it interesting that growing up in Australia is such a big NBA fan. I love that. And it's also, like I told you before, I'm a huge Manchester United fan. I've only been out of the country once in my life, and I was 5 years old. But I found it on TV one night 20 years ago or so. And it was just, there was nothing else on. I gave it a shot. Loved it. Thank God Manchester United was playing because they became my team that night. If it would have been Liverpool or something, But yeah, my only thing on my bucket list, if you can call it that, is to go to Old Trafford in Manchester and see him play.
That'd be cool. That'd be very cool.
I seen him play. My wife got us tickets like 3-4 years ago to go see him in Michigan, in Ann Arbor. They were playing a preseason game against Liverpool, and it was awesome. We lost, but
yeah, yeah, they've done that out here, in Melbourne actually. at the MCG, which is like a stadium which you may or may not have heard of, but it's the biggest stadium in Melbourne, if not one of the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere, holds like 100,000 people. Like, and that place was jam packed. Yeah. Well, there she goes.
Yeah, she'll get going. Yeah, I saw him at what's called the Big House, which is Michigan University's football stadium.
Yeah,
it was a really nice stadium.
Yeah.
Lawrence would be happy that I went there. He's a Michigan guy. Tell me a little bit about childhood, Adam. What was your kind of toys?
Childhood Adam. Okay. Well, as far back as I can remember, if like action figures specifically, like
any toy.
Yeah. Look, I can't remember like early, like, you know, in my preschool like sort of years, but I can remember the very first Star Wars stuff that I had. That was my gateway drug, so to speak,
for sure,
into action figures. And the first one, like the first vehicle I got was a land speeder, Luke's land speeder. And it had like a little kind of control, which was shaped like R2-D2. And it was like a remote control sort of one. So I had that. And in terms of figures, I can distinctly remember getting Bespin Luke. I cannot remember who I had from the actual Star Wars run, like first up. I don't know. Because I'm 48, so you know I was young when Star Wars came out. Like I was just born that year, but 100% Star Wars was in my life from a very early point, like at least 4 years old. And so yeah, from there, massive Star Wars fan, and my collection grew like a long time. And because like I'm an only child, I never had anyone to like break my stuff or take my stuff, lose my stuff. And I looked after my toys. I was always really good with I still am. I'm always good with my belongings. Like I just took care of things. I still had like majority of my weapons and all equipment, all that sort of stuff. Never lost things or broke things. I wasn't a destructive kid. So my original Star Wars stuff, I had up until my teenage years. But yeah, from Star Wars, next up came Motu. And, you know, in a big way. First figure was Zodak.
Oh.
I don't know why, but yeah, it was.
Zodak.
Yeah, Zodak's cool. But yeah, I was all in on that. And my mum, bless her heart, she was very good at enabling me in that sense. My cousins also, who were just a touch younger than me, they were also into Motu as well. So they would get stuff that I didn't have. I'd have stuff that they didn't have, but we'd all play together. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but I had Castle Grayskull, I had Snake Mountain, I had Hordak's Lair, had plenty of vehicles. From, you know, the rudimentary Battle Cat to, oh God, what else? The Land Shark, I think it's called.
Yeah,
that was cool. I had, I think the first vehicle I got was it the Wing Raider? Is that what it's called?
I think it's been a couple things. I think it's like one of those things where they lost the rights to the name, then they changed it. I know
the Air Raider or the Wing Raider. It was like one of the first like original vehicles in the line. I think that might have even been my first vehicle.
The green one with the yellow, right?
The green with the yellow. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Wind Raider or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. I can remember having Merman, Beastman, all the, you know, cavalcade of the OG characters. As I got like further into the line, I didn't have every single figure, but I had most of them. But yeah.
I loved Clawful when I was little.
Yeah, I like
all
Clawful
the time.
too. Funnily enough, he come up in conversation with Ronnie Trickshot the other day
Oh, yeah?
because, as you know, Ronnie's sort of delved a little bit into Motu recently. So
Made me
he was
proud.
telling me that he saw him on the shelf. He said some guy looked like a lobster. I said, yeah, that's Clawful.
Yeah, and that's a great. He was talking about the Masterverse version, and that's a great.
He was, which is very cool. Yeah, but I had Extendor, I had Ninja, I had Scareglow, like, man, and all that stuff I kept not into my teenage years. I kept that up until probably maybe like I was 12 or 13, and I sold it all at what you would call a flea market. I sold it all along with a bunch of Lego.
Oh, my brother was big in Lego. Once he started getting into Lego, I got all the action figures because
right. So the Lego that I was big into was the medieval Lego.
Oh,
yeah. So I had castles, I had all the mini play sets, and I had the inn and all sorts of horses and knights and all that sort of stuff. But I sold all that off with the Motu stuff at the swap meet flea market thing, what we would call a trash and treasure market, to fund more Star Wars collecting, actually. So, yeah.
See, I went the other way, especially because 82, that's when Joe and Motu came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I bought another Star Wars or had someone buy me another Star Wars.
Yep.
Until I was an adult and I got some, like when the Phantom Menace came out. I thought, you know what? I'll get these for my kids. We'll collect them and all that. I traded a lot of my Star Wars for G.I. Joe.
Right.
Yeah, I got a lot of good stuff that we couldn't afford, but I got it with people looking for Star Wars figures they couldn't get anymore.
Right. So that's interesting because, like, around the same time as Motu was like big for me, Return of the Jedi, of course, was out. So I was still in the eye of that storm in terms of buying, Star Wars figures and stuff like that. So I had a bunch of Star Wars stuff. I never had a lot of massive vehicles or anything like that, though, unfortunately. But, I had most of the figures and smaller vehicles and stuff like that. And, I never even had a Falcon or AT. I had the AT-ST. That was probably one of the bigger vehicles I had. But at that time, like, Joes weren't commonplace here. So, we still had Action Man, which was the Toll Toys version of Joe. So that came out in 82. So you had Grunt, Rock and Roll, Stalker, Snake Eyes, da-da-da-da. And then it dried up. Like, it wasn't around in, like, a great amount. Like, and so the first Joe I had was an Action Man short fuse. And it was a one and done thing. Like, somehow I saw that on a shelf and said, Mum, I would like this. Mum said, sure. I had that figure. The O-ring broke on me at some point while I was playing with it. And the thing kicked around in a box of Lego for years, just loose, like torso amongst like Lego blocks. There's the legs, there's the mortar and stand. And it sat in there. I never touched it, you know what I mean? Because it was broken in my mind. So it wasn't until 86 when G.I. Joe was like pushed to the forefront here, in toy stores. And then I was back in. And Joe just took over for me. Motu was long gone. Lego was gone. Star Wars stuff I still had. But yeah, Joe took precedent. And I never mixed those worlds. So, like, I was never playing with Star Wars figures and Joe at the same time.
Yeah. To me, Star Wars was cool, but I've said I didn't see any of the movies until my middle teens because when they were in the theater, my parents had no interest in seeing it, so they didn't take me. So everything that I was playing, was my headcanon. It was fun. But to me, G.I. Joe was, I don't want to say more realistic, because if you take Cobra, there's nothing realistic about Cobra. I love it. I always will. But I just had more fun with it. I think maybe if I seen the movie, I probably would have been way more invested in Star Wars. But it worked out.
That's interesting. Because like I can distinctly remember going to see Return of the Jedi in the cinemas, and I believe from memory I may have gone to the drive-in to see Empire Strikes Back, but I can't fully recall that. But 100% can remember seeing like Jabba on the screen for the first time, and that was huge. Like Return of the Jedi is still one of my favorite Star Wars films to this day. Even though it's hokey in terms of like the way some people look at it and with the Ewoks and stuff, that film for me was like awesome because I was old enough for it all to come together and register. Because I would have been around 7 or 8 at that point. So
yeah. Return of the Jedi is really good. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of the original trilogy.
Yeah, they're all awesome.
Favorite.
Yeah.
All of them.
And I used to like act out the movies with the toys. So, I wasn't just conjuring up make believe. I might have like played different battles and stuff, but like I would always try and reenact like the Hoth scene. And I never had like the Imperial base playset or anything like that. I used to get like styrofoam packing inserts from cardboard boxes, and I would turn those into like the Hoth base. You know what I mean? So yeah, I can remember sitting on the lounge room floor of like my mum's unit where we lived, because my mum and dad divorced when I was a baby, so I lived most of the time with my mum. I can still distinctly remember, I can mentally visualize it, sitting on the floor in the lounge room doing exactly what I just told you in front of the TV with Empire Strikes Back playing on the TV at the time on video. So yeah.
Yeah, we used to live in this old farmhouse, run down. We went by there a couple years ago to see it, and I remember playing with my Star Wars in the windowsill. Just, you got the paint that's peeling off, but it don't matter. That was my ship that the guys were on, because I didn't know anything.
Yeah,
we did end up. They did get us like the TIE Fighter, the X-wing. They got us a Falcon. And I think my favorite piece was the Death Star.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I've said 100 times, I don't know how my parents did it because we were not well off, but they always made sure Christmas was great.
Yeah, man. That's the same with my mum. Like my mum used to be a nurse, so she was working in nursing homes all throughout my youth. And my dad, like I'd see my dad, like. But my mum was like primarily responsible for majority of my toys, as well as my nan. My nan would take myself and my cousins shopping periodically, and she'd be like, all right, get 3 figures each. And this is especially more so with Joe's, I can remember this. So yeah, my mum and my nan definitely boosted my collection as a kid, but my dad had no time for like toys. He didn't buy me toys. Like wasn't something he did. Don't know why.
Yeah.
Just I think he thought of them as a waste of money. I don't know, but it's not something he ever did. So my mum, she did well for me to not go without. And Christmas, I'd always get kick-ass stuff. She got me. I remember she got me the mask, a snake oil tanker, the black one. I can't remember what it's called. The one that has the missile comes out of it, yeah. And all sorts of stuff, man. Like, yeah, my mum was great in that sense.
Yeah.
Bless her.
I wish we'd have had a camera and took, a lot of people got pictures of them holding up their Joes and stuff. We didn't have like a camera at the house, but it would have been some fun memories to go back on. One of my favorite stories, and you probably heard me say it, that one Christmas, I thought I was getting a sweater. It was in a box, like clothes come in.
Yeah.
Open it up, it was full of Joes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I went from
Yeah, no,
disappointment to happy. And to this day, I don't know how they didn't do, double buy, because I'm sure they weren't sitting there. Oh, he's already got this one. Maybe they were. I don't know. Maybe when I was
yeah,
at school, they were looking to make sure. But
yeah. That's a
never
fair
just
point.
yeah.
That's a fair point. I don't recall ever getting like duplicates and being like, "Oh, mum, I've already got this one." Like, I don't recall any of that at all. And like when I'd go shopping with my nan and my two cousins, like she'd say, grab this, grab this, grab this, and she'd be like, "Why don't you get this one because he's got that one?" You know what I mean? So I guess there was some foresight there on their behalves.
That's how when me and my brother, we would, they'd tell us you pick out something for the other one for your Christmas gift. So I
Yep.
would just buy what I wanted, and he would buy what he wanted. We were good. We just swapped. And, me and my brother, we never played together. Never. We just did our own things.
Right.
But we never argued about toys or this or that. It was weird. Just
Yeah.
everything just seemed normal. Hey, you playing with us? All right, I'll play with these. So
It's either a combination of good parenting and natural selection or something, man.
it's just you come up, you wrote. So like I said, we had some lean times, but Christmas was always great. And I don't know, back in the 70s, early 80s, we shared.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I guess we learned how to share in kindergarten, and we were fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So when Joe hit, was that it? 86 on, just Joe? Or did you still buy some Star Wars?
Nah, Star Wars was done by then in the stores, man. I can remember even just prior to Joe hitting, I can remember seeing clearance bins of Emperor Palpatine figures and Neen Num. I'm pretty sure it was Neen Num and Emperor Palpatine. I remember Emperor Palpatine figures going for like 50 cents or something ridiculous like that. And they were just so many, you know what I mean? And that was Star Wars was just, the films were done. There was no cartoons. There was no, there's no further talk of, oh, we're going to get like a TV series or another film. Like that was it. It was done. Kids were just moving on to the next thing. And I kept all my Star Wars stuff, but it just went into the cupboard and Joe just took over, mate. 86, I can distinctly remember getting Beachhead, Monkey Wrench. They were probably two of the first figures that I had. But funnily enough, I'd been to America the year before for the first time. So with my dad and my stepmom. So we went over. It was Christmas gift for the family, for me, blah, blah, blah. We went over and we were in Vegas. And at the time, because we did the whole Disneyland thing, we're just on the West Coast. We just went, California. And we're in Vegas. And my dad used to play blackjack.
Mm-hmm.
So we were staying at Circus Casino and Hotel. And I remember we'd just gotten there, I think, and we were walking through like the concourse, and there was like a gift shop thing. And I saw this G.I. Joe stuff. I was like, what is that? And there was like a Skyhawk in a box, and there was like a Deep Six and the Shark. And I was like, oh, I want to have a look at that thing. I want that Deep Six thing. That looks cool, blah, blah, blah. And my dad and my stepmom, I think we're going to dinner or something. And they're like, oh, we got to go. I'm like, toys, but no, we're going. So we left. And I was like, fair enough. And that night, went back to the hotel room, went to sleep, and woke up the next morning, and sitting on the end of my bed was Deep Six and the Shark. So even though years before I'd had that Action Man short fuse, which had just broken, was just floating around in my toy box, I now had an actual G.I. Joe branded G.I. Joe figure. Of course, at that point in time, possibly the worst G.I. Joe figure in terms of articulation, and playability. But it was cool. He was a diver. The shark was cool. It was a flying submarine.
Yeah.
I was happy, right? I was 8 years old or whatever. So fast forward, to 86, and I've still got that toy. But again, it's just sitting in the cupboard with the toys or whatever. And Joe comes along, and I was like, I recognize this brand. I know what this is. So natural progression, boom, all in. And again, so were my two cousins that I'd mentioned. They became massive Joe fans as well. So we would buy everything, figures, vehicles, anything that was on offer. Our parents were really good to us. And yeah, we'd just play battles together at their house or my house, whatever. So yeah, Joe was huge for me, and obviously still is.
Right. Yeah, I think it's funny. Like when I was a kid, I played Joe all the time, but I only had one Cobra Trooper and one Cobra Officer.
Yeah,
never thought to troop build because there's always some other figure I need.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've got like 6 Crimson Guards, 4 Vipers. I mean, I try to troop build everything now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't even play with them like that. But
see, I think for me, because I was cognizant of the fact of, having my Star Wars collection at the time, don't get me wrong, I wasn't army building like extravagantly, but I had multiples of like stormtroopers and biker scouts and things like that, but like 2 or 3 or whatever. So, when the 86 line come along of Joe, Vipers and stuff were obviously on offer and whatnot. But you're right. I only can remember having maybe one of each of like, a Heat Viper and a normal Viper. Like I wasn't doing that same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it never occurred to me. I had one Stormtrooper. I had one Snowtrooper. One Biker.
Right. Yeah.
They all hung out together.
Yeah.
Let's see. So it might be a hard question, but can you go back and remember your favorite one toy that you had as a kid?
As a kid?
Yeah.
Oh man, that is tough. That is tough. I don't remember a specific favorite per se. Because like being an only child, I guess I had to sort of use my imagination as I didn't have anyone else to play with. So, I was creating my own headcanon in some ways when I would play and stuff like that. But I would probably hone in on different figures and stuff at different times, and that would the newness would be probably my favorite thing. You know what I mean? Until something sort of replaced it. But if you want to be specific, and we're talking about like Joe, I had
could be any.
I had an 82 Snake Eyes, and I can't even remember how I got it. I think I swapped with a kid or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a broken thumb on one hand, so he can only hold a weapon with one hand. But can I swear on here?
Yeah.
But that fucking figure, that figure was the apple of my eye, right? Because I got that like well after, 82 was around, and 85 wasn't a thing for us, like as Joe fans, because we didn't get when you got to understand when the 86 stuff dropped here, it wasn't like we were getting smatterings of 85 stuff. It was just 86 moving forward, right?
Right.
So when I got that 82 Snake Eyes, I was like, oh my God, this is like a gem. You know what I mean? Like, and because I was reading the comics, Casey, this is also important. I knew about the characters, right? So I knew that he was pivotal, like in Larry Hammer's era run. So getting that figure, I was just like stoked, mate. And I wish I still had that one. It's funny. You know what? It's so funny, Casey. I'm not going to, this is crazy. I hadn't thought about that figure until you asked me that question. Like, I hadn't even thought about that moment. How crazy is that? Like, I can remember distinct moments of collecting as a kid and getting certain things, but I completely had not thought about that figure and obtaining it in decades. And you're talking to someone who, like yourself, who is a big Joe fan, but somehow I just pulled that memory out of my brain. And it's funny because in advance of this conversation, I was thinking back last night about what were some of my earliest toys and because I knew you'd obviously be asking me questions, but that didn't even enter my mind last night. So there's some total recall for you, mate.
Yeah, one of my favorite Joe memories is buying my very first one. It was at a department store called 3D. They're not around anymore.
Yep.
And I went there to get, I don't know if I was just looking or was hoping to get something Star Wars left in 82. But I saw for the first time G.I. Joe. I'm like, what is this? I look at it. I'm looking at the whole line because back then there was actually toys in department stores. All the aisles were full. And I saw it and my mom said I can have one. So I started looking through them and I somehow skipped over the Stalker, who I love, Snake Eyes, awesome, all those. And I walked out with Breaker.
Yep.
I think it's because he had the backpack, the mic, all that. It looked like he had more stuff.
Yep.
I didn't pay attention. He didn't have a weapon.
Yep.
But he is my first Joe. I always remember that. Wasn't too long after that, I went back and got Stalker. And worked my way until I got them all. And it was G.I. Joe after that.
Yep.
Until, saw some Motu, got some Motu. I got most of those from my aunts and uncles. They would buy me Christmas and birthday gifts. And I played with them, loved them.
Right.
It wasn't until like about 3 years ago where I really started getting into Motu again. And it's kind of escalated to where it's taken over a lot of my space.
Oh, I can't tell just by looking at your backdrop behind you there. I'll tell you another good story. So I was with my nana and my mum and my two cousins. And we went to this place called Caribbean Gardens, which was on the outskirts of Melbourne where I live, in the southeast suburbs. And it was like a big undercover market. So, and they had like playground equipment there and food places and rides and stuff like that. It was kind of like a market, but on steroids, right? And we were there just for a day out thing. We were walking around and we like come across like this toy stand, like, guy selling toys. Selling all sorts of bits and pieces and junk and whatever. And this would have had to have been, I want to say, around 89, give or take, right? So what was I? Probably 12 years old. It might have even been 88, 89. And something catches my eye. And there was a box about, let's say, so long. And it was full of carded figures. And I lift up the first one, Action Man, Action Man, Action Man, Action Man. It was a run of the 82 Action Man figures that I've told you about. So just think of 82 Joes, same card art, same style packaging, but instead of Joe, it says Action Man. And this is not Action Force, okay? So it's exactly the same as Joe, nothing different. So, like the short fuse that I had. And I'm like, rock and roll, need that. Clutch. Sorry, not Clutch. Zap. Yep, I'll take that. Cobra Trooper. Cobra Officer. I'll take that. I'll take that. And my cousins were like taking, like, I'll be like, because I was like, what the hell is this? I was old enough to be like, these are Joes that we don't have. We need to get these. And like, because I'd sort of branched off from my mum and my nana. Well, me and my cousin, we branched off. My other cousin was with them and they were looking at something else. And so I've discovered this box of literal treasure, right? And I run back and I say, Mom, there's something I really got to get it. Like, we need to go here right now, please. I want to buy this stuff. And she's like, okay, cool. So we pretty much bought practically the entire box. They were $2 each, Casey.
That's a fortune now.
$2 each. And we, of course, ripped them open like madmen. And, you know, I can still remember that so vividly. And, you know, of course, by this stage, I had that broken 82 Snake Eyes. So I had some of the original 13. It wasn't a complete set. There was no Snake Eyes, for obviously. There was no Scarlet. Who else was absent? I think I got Breaker as well. I got Stalker. And Stalker was huge. Like, again, because of the comics and his relationship to Snake Eyes, I now had Snake Eyes and Stalker. So that Stalker figure was special to me, and I have versions of both that I've obviously bought since. So yeah, that was another defining moment as a Joe collector for me, mate. $2 each, case.
That's crazy. $2 each. I don't want to tell you what I paid for my 82 Snake Eyes. It wasn't $2. I got back into.
Have you got the straight arm and the swivel arm?
No, just a straight arm.
Okay.
Now I do have version 2 Snake Eyes. But are you a version 1 or version 2 guy?
I love both. I have multiples of both in the vintage. I have 3 version 2s, Casey.
Oh my goodness. COVID, me and Matt, we started Podcast from the Pit, and we were doing our hunting. And I told myself I was not going to pay more than $20 for any figure. Well, that went out the window quick once I see my stuff cost. But then I was like, I'll never pay $100 for a figure. I paid $100 for 2 figures. One is version 2 Snake Eyes. It's immaculate. It's in great shape. And the other one was Steel Brigade. I didn't have a Steel Brigade as a kid. So
it's crazy the price on that figure, like when you think about it.
I don't care if it's A, B, C, D, E. I don't care. I don't even want to know. I got one. That's good enough for me.
Yeah.
I got a friend that's got all of them.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. The gold head one included, I'd say.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
As a kid, prime age for cartoons, what was your favorite cartoons?
Oh, man, I used to love watching cartoons.
I still do.
I don't recall Joe being readily available as a cartoon to us on like syndicated television. But we had access to like some episodes on VHS tapes and stuff like that. So I would watch those. But in terms of like cartoons on TV, Ninja Turtles is probably one of the last ones I can remember watching sort of religiously. But I was always a massive fan of like Hanna-Barbera cartoons, like and things like Tom and Jerry and stuff like Heckle and Jekyll.
Yeah.
I love a lot. I don't watch it, but I love the imagery of a lot of that stuff, like Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner and Yosemite Sam and Foghorn Leghorn and stuff like that. All the stuff that's perceived wrong now, or or has been cancelled. Fuck that! Like that stuff is iconic. You know what I mean? Like I love that stuff, and like that. I watched a lot of that stuff. We used to have a show here. It used to be on Channel 9 here, and it was hosted by in the afternoons after school, and it was hosted by a really, really hot chick, and she was basically the presenter, and it was just cartoons. So I was like usually like Warner Brothers stuff, and yeah, she was hot. She was just there as like eye candy, and I was a teen then, so this was appointment television for Adam when he was probably 13, 14 years old. And her name was Sophie Lee. Look her up, folks. All right, look her up and look up Sophie Lee. I can't remember the name of the show, but like I can remember her. But yeah, what else? Huckleberry Hound. I've got like, you can't see it, but up here there's like heaps of like animated Funko Pops. So El Kabong, Quick Draw McGraw, was a massive fan. Who else have I got? I don't really see anyone here without craning my neck further. But yeah, all that sort of stuff, man. That was my jam.
Yeah, you can always sucker me into buying stuff if it's nostalgia. I'm a sucker for it. I loved being a kid. I was a kid in the right time. No screens, just toys and cartoons. McFarlane started putting out these Super Friends.
Okay.
They look just like the cartoon when I was a kid.
Is that who's made those? Which company?
McFarlane.
Can you show me that up close? Can I have a look at that Batman one? I haven't seen those.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, see, even shows like that, like that era of like superhero animated television was fantastic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman flying around in her invisible jet, and Aquaman doing his thing and stuff like that. Like, one cartoon I can remember, like this is early years of my youth. The original animated Marvel stuff. So you had like Iron Man had his show, Thor had his show, Captain America had his show, and I think the Hulk had his show. I can remember like the jingles for those shows, like Dr. Banner melted by gamma ray, turned into the Hulk. Like, Captain America throws his mighty shield. That stuff has stuck with me for 40 plus years and rattles around in my head to this day, Casey. And like those weren't fantastic, like animated cartoons by any mention, but like, yeah, those I can remember vividly as well.
But Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was really good.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was from that same sort of vintage of like Super Friends and stuff like that. But yeah, I watched a lot of cartoons as a kid, mate. A lot. Again, only child, had to entertain myself. Yeah,
I remember one. Not a lot of people even think about anymore. Is Battle of the Planets.
Oh, 100%.
You give me some affordable figures of those, and I'm all in. I can't do the Storm collectibles; they're $100 a piece. And I'm like,
that was a cartoon that was on the ABC network here, from memory. I'm pretty sure, and it was like pretty much our first exposure to anime. That and Astro Boy, all right, which is again another cracking like cartoon from my childhood. And that was different to the stuff that we've mentioned as well. It was just obviously animated differently. The storylines were different. But yeah, Battle of the Planets is iconic, mate. Absolutely iconic.
I always loved it because the bad guys ain't getting up. They just got blown up.
Yeah. It was cool. The storylines in that show were great. And that's what I also liked about Astro Boy. He would always be fighting different villains. You know what I mean? Like, oh, here's a new giant robot that's got, I don't know, guns that pop out of its head and, or whatever. And then the next one would be like fighting this, small microscopic robot that could do this or that. Like, what I mean? There's a lot of creativity that went into those shows.
Yeah. Then Robotech hit, and I thought Robotech was genius too.
Robotech was good. That was one cartoon that I would watch when I could, but for some reason it was on at a time when I wouldn't be home. I think it was on Saturday mornings. Like a lot of the time I'd be out doing stuff because I'd spend Saturdays with my father. I'd visit my dad on the weekends. So again, staying home and watching cartoons in the morning wasn't in the plans for young Adam when he'd go to his dad's house. So that was one cartoon that I enjoyed, but I never owned any of the toys from memory.
I had a few, not a lot. Were in Indiana. I just didn't see them. I think I had two.
Yeah.
Oh,
the Veritech Fighters were sick. I always wanted one of those.
Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Love that one.
Another cracking cartoon. I used to love that.
Kids are missing out nowadays. They don't have this.
Man, I know it sounds like, very Gen X of us to be like, oh, our childhood, almost sound like boomers when we do this. Like our childhood was better. But honestly, we were spoiled for choice. And, we didn't, even though we still had video games around, they didn't replace our toys and they didn't replace our imaginations. And we weren't just like, even though I say this as someone who watched countless hours of cartoons, we weren't just like zombies, you know what I mean? And just like, oh, got to play this game for hours on end and nothing else matters. And, and we weren't like that. I feel like we were more balanced as a generation of children then.
As a kid, I played with my toys, watched my cartoons, but I also went out, nice days and played baseball, played soccer, played football, basketball.
Ride around on your bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just, the world's changed. Kids can't go out and play by themselves when they're little now. We would stay out all day pretty much.
Kids just aren't playing with toys like they once were. That's what I mean, where technology has changed the game in that sense. And unfortunately, the toy manufacturers haven't been able to merge the appeal of what tech is with toys to make something that is really going to capture the hearts and minds and imaginations of kids. It just hasn't panned out that way.
And I always tell my wife, I was like, look, when me and all my friends are gone, toys may be done because we're buying them for nostalgia's sake. These are upgraded versions of what we had when we was a kid. So I'm going to get that. All right. G.I. Joe's got really no media to speak.
Yep.
So they're not making new fans. They're not making young fans. And
nope.
I hope that changes because it's a an IP that I've loved my whole life from age 10 on. Even when I wasn't collecting, I always tell people I didn't collect toys as a kid. I played with them. Now I collect them.
Mm-hmm. When I look at the analytics of my toy reviews, especially for Joe, the highest proportion of my audience is 40 to 50-year-olds. The second highest is then 30 to 40-year-olds. And then the lowest is 20 to 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the numbers are far more slanted in the direction of our age bracket.
I can imagine. I mean, but we all have the shared interest, shared love for the content. So I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. I think Motu does a little better job because they do have all kinds of media with Revelations, and you go back 12 years before that, they had 2000X, and then Filmation 20 years before that.
Yep.
And then they got the kids cartoon that was on Netflix. Hopefully that helps.
Absolutely. And the difference is between something like Motu and Joe is that Joe's, a fantasy military line, and parents have historically in recent years shied away from military toys. And as a result, so have department stores and big chain stores. They don't want to put the focus on something like Joe when they've got something like Star Wars or Motu or Barbie or whatever, or Transformers. Look at Transformers. It's never not been in stores since it came out in '83. There's Transformers in stores every year. But Joe's come and gone, and conflicts in the world affect that. And
For sure.
Absolutely. And, and then you've got the other aspect of it is parents don't want their kids playing with toy guns. So the trickle down effect of that is they don't want them playing with toy soldiers. It is what it is.
Yeah. With the DC, they don't even put guns on their action figures who have guns. Is that right?
That's so ridiculous that they do that, but that's not Todd McFarlane's fault, unfortunately. That comes from Warner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous to stop putting guns on them in the comics and then TV shows. If that's how you want to be.
It's just silly. It's just
silly. Make them accurate.
It's just dumb. You're just dumbing down your own product and making it less appealing. It's stupid.
Yep. Can you imagine if the Punisher didn't have a gun? Come on.
Well, you saw how Disney basically put him back in the box for a couple of years here and there. He's only just sort of recently resurfaced, so politics shouldn't affect toys. Unfortunately, sometimes it does. Yeah. And, look at the state of the world right now and the toy world. So, but we're not here to talk about tariffs, so we're not going to do that, Casey.
No, we're not. Yeah. I just looked up and we're almost closing in on an hour, and I still got a couple questions I want to ask.
Mate, take your time. All day. I got the time. It's all good.
I got dogs to take care of too, so
it's all good.
Now, as an adult, what's your favorite toy that you have?
What's the favorite toy that I have as an adult?
Right now. It could be something you still have from your childhood, or it could be something you bought yesterday. What brings out?
That's a good question, Casey, because like yourself, having a lot of stuff makes it harder to answer that question. But I mean, I'd be silly to not say the flag. You know what I mean? Owning that is something I never had as a kid. The fact that it takes up so much room is basically literally an island in the middle of this room. Well, that's another story. But, without it, I wouldn't be able to do my reviews. So it serves a purpose there practically.
You do them all on the flag. I love
that. I also wouldn't be able to just dump stuff on it and use it as the world's greatest play set and bench. So there's that as well.
It's an expensive catch-all.
Yeah. But the fact that I won it, a raffle for $20 is pretty sweet. I can't lie. To say that you paid $20 for a flag in this day and age
is insane. Yes.
really rare.
Yeah. There's a guy in the chat a couple weeks ago. I felt like $600 for my flag was a good deal. For what I see it going for. He got his for $100.
Wow.
And I'm just like, good on you, man. I'm happy. Stories like that are great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got my Terradrome probably like 4 years ago. Gave like $400 for it, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's, it's 100% complete. And I was at a show in December.
Yep.
The year, not this year, but last December. They had a beater they were trying to sell for $900.
Wow.
And I'm just like, that's crazy.
Wow. But yeah, like there's plenty of stuff like that I enjoy fiddling around with and whatnot in here. So there's plenty of stuff I haven't even opened. My HasLab Dragonfly is sitting behind here. I haven't even opened it. I've taken some of the figures out. Haven't opened the vehicle.
Nice. I got Skeletor's Throne about a month ago, and I still haven't opened that yet because I just haven't had time to put together.
Yep. I'm trying to like create space in here. I've got a stall coming up at a swap meet collector's fair in a couple of months. So I've been pricing a lot of stuff to sell. And once I get rid of all that stuff, then I will have a bit more room to play around with. So, but yeah.
My wife continues, man. I got a glass cabinet coming, so I'm going to start my glass cabinet wall over here.
Nice. I cannot highly recommend enough having glass cabinets. I've got 7 of those details back there.
Yeah, I went a different route. I'm going to try. I just got one. I'm going to see how it works out.
Yep.
It's longer.
Yep.
Because I'm going to start with my Motu, work my way around. My Joes are on a really nice shelf over there. I'll probably just leave those. But I'm not happy with this mess behind me.
I'm the same, mate. You can't see it here, but to my left here and behind the computer here, it's mess. Like I've got like a shelf, which is it's more like a bookshelf sort of thing. It's chock-a-block, mate. But sitting in front of that, there's a pile of empty classified boxes. I've got long boxes of comics. I've got the Hiss Tank HasLab box sitting back here and boxes from Joe's stuff. I've got a vintage Dragonfly, an Eagle Hawk, more fucking Funko Pops, Casey. Too many of those damn things. Shoe boxes, because I used to be a sneaker collector, and more classified stuff. Marvel Legends and Street Fighter Jada toys. There's too much shit. So it needs to be housed. This is the work in progress over here. This whole room's a work in progress. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it gives me something to do.
Absolutely.
And I honestly couldn't do any of this if my wife wasn't supportive.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people don't realize how important that is.
Oh, big time, mate.
It's not a cheap hobby.
No.
At all.
And see, my wife has never busted my balls about collecting. Like she's never been like, oh, why do you buy this stuff? Or she's never said, oh, more toys or nothing. She supports me. Like she sort of, takes the piss out of me at times. She calls the flag a spaceship. I don't know why. And yeah, like she'll open up the door here and stick her head in when I'm in here, and she'll be like, oh, more stuff, huh? I'm like, nah, I'm just moving things around.
It just looks different.
Yeah, it just looks different. Yeah. But she's actually going to come with me to the swap meet in a couple of months, and
that's cool.
And help me sell some stuff off and man the stand with me. So that'll be fun. I look forward to seeing her reactions to some of the people that turn up to these things.
My wife she was going to come to Joe Fest with me.
Yep.
She had lost her job in December and she just started a new one, so she's not going to have the time. So it looks like I'm going to have a couple of my friends sleeping on my floor because I don't double up.
Yep. Nice one. That'll be
But
fun,
I mean,
mate.
if I got a spot for them, they're more than welcome to.
Good stuff.
Have you got any? And I will tell you mine. But do you have any buyer's remorse for anything you bought? Like
Yeah. I try not to. Okay, I need to preface this with this comment. I try not to live my life with regrets. So, and as a collector, I try to buy. I'm not like a completist, and I'm also not like. I try not to be too spontaneous when it comes to buying stuff. My problem is that I'll fall down a wormhole at times, and I'll be like, "Oh, what is this?" And the perfect example of that is Funko Pops. I was gifted one for the very first time years ago. It was an Axl Rose Guns of Roses one. It's behind my head up on that CD rack up there somewhere. And I was like, "What is this? I've seen these before. I don't understand the appeal, but I've been a toy collector. I know toys. Why are these so popular, right?" And so I did like a bit of investigating. I was like, okay, so they have a monetary value to them, some of them, and they're different sort of properties and stuff. I can see why people like them, but I wasn't like fully engaged. Then I bought one more. Then I bought another one. And another one, and another one. And this was especially when Infinity War was huge, the movie. And, I was big back into comics and stuff then, but I wasn't collecting Legends. I had smatterings of Legends figures over the years, but I wasn't collecting them. But I was like, oh, there's Marvel ones of these Funko Pop things. I might just buy a few of these. So I bought a fair few of them. Then I bought some Game of Thrones ones. And then I bought a whole bunch of different random properties from Rick and Morty to NBA ones to fucking you name it. So probably my regret is probably shelling out money on Funko Pops that I didn't really need or didn't really want in the long term side of things. And I caught the bug. And now this room is more like populated with them more than I would like. Yeah. So best believe a whole fuckload of those are going to be coming with me to that swap meet. And if they don't sell, I might just like set them on fire. I don't know.
I got a bunch of G.I. Joe ones.
Yep.
I did not buy any of the Motu ones, even though I want to. I think they're cool. I didn't buy any of them. My wife has a ton of Funko Pops. She likes, her favorite show's Friends. So she gets all the Friends ones.
Yep.
And she gets all the Stranger Things and, stuff that she loves.
Yep.
And that's the Supernatural. I think I bought her one that was like $90 at a toy store.
Okay. I'm just looking for something to show you, Casey. I'll see if I can find it. It should just be here. Just bear with me. Where is it? I can't find it. But I know down here you can see the Funko boxes here.
Yeah.
So that's stacked with Funko boxes. In that mix is a Faker and a Beastman Funko Pop, I believe, from memory.
Yep.
That's the only Motu ones I've got. Why did I buy them, Casey? Because I'm an idiot. That's why. Because I'm like, oh, Motu. I like Motu.
Beastman's cool. I've probably got 10 different Beastman, but no Funko Pop.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I call it buyer's remorse, but it didn't last long because I was able to move it quick.
Yep.
Actually, I moved it before I got it. It would be the Hiss tank. Classified.
As in the HasLab?
Yes. And I say buyer's remorse just because it's so huge. I didn't really have the room for it. which sounds it sounds hypocritical because I bought a Eternia playset since then, like an idiot. But
not an idiot at all.
Yeah, I just don't have that love for classified.
Yeah, no, you don't. Yeah,
but
and
I hope it goes on for as long as everybody wants it to. I have zero.
So do I.
Zero
I've
hate
invested
for
a fair amount of time and energy and money into it. No, I like it, man. I like the 6-inch scale. Even though traditionally I was obviously 3 3/4, 4-inch scale. Like, you know, you can't really see it well, but that's 82 to 88 in the modern 4-inch Joes, all down there. Pretty much complete. I'm missing a few figures from the 87 to 88 component of the modern 4-inch ones. So, you know, I've always collected Joe since 86. The only stuff I never really got was like Sigma 6 stuff and die-cast stuff. I don't do that. I'm more particular. But yeah, man, I'm a collector. What can I say?
Yeah, and I always like to preference that with I don't hate classified. I just don't do it. I got enough irons in the fire. I mean, I got a massive Doctor Who figure collection. It's insane.
Yeah.
Got my Motu, and you know, it's not even that the fact that it's, you know, classified as 1/12 scale, because I do 7-inch Masterverse. That's bigger. It's just, I don't know. I just like it a little better. And there's still like hit and miss figures I will get. Like I got the Iron Grenadier just because I loved it.
Yeah.
I'll probably get the Frag Viper because I think that looks really cool.
And you would probably get a tactical shipwreck if your last conversation with Wreck Ship would be.
But I made one.
What's that? Sorry?
I made one.
Yeah, I know you made one, but would you buy one?
Yeah, probably, because it'd be better than the one I made.
Yeah,
I think that's a great figure.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic figure.
If Classified would do my dream scenario, I would buy the set, which would be to take Wetsuit, Torpedo, Shipwreck, Deep Six, and Tracker, and just Navy SEAL them out. Like,
that'd be awesome.
Gear, camo, you know, all that.
Torpedo and Wetsuit, at the very least, deserve like a SEAL team release where they're in jungle, like BDUs. You know what I mean? So,
or desert.
Yeah. And I would love that. I like, you know, I'll show you just 1 second. Where is he? Can I reach him? I'm also dealing with my bad back at the moment, Casey, but just bear with me 1 second. This is a custom.
Oh, nice. Is that Marauders?
No, that is actual, like, the same components that the original, like, release in the 4-inch line is made of to make that wetsuit. So, it's got all the same parts, pretty much, the weaponry that Hasbro used, and it's the same figure parts, same vest, webbing, and all that sort of jazz. It's just a custom that I had a mate do for me.
Nice.
Because this figure, as you're probably aware, and as your viewers will be aware, is on the secondary market now, the actual release is worth a lot of money. Too much money, if you ask me. So, but yeah, that's when I was heavy into the 4-inch stuff before Classified came about.
Yeah, I like the 4-inch figures. Sometimes they don't want to stand right on the stands, but
terrible in terms of getting some of them to hold their weapons and to stand upright. Problematic as all hell, but it was a great time to be a Joe fan and collector. You know, brought the line back,
and I missed all
with gusto. You know,
yeah, I missed all that when it was, you know, out in the shelves and all that. I had to dive into that at the same time I was rebuying all the O-rings and then Classified. So doing 3 scales at the same time.
Yep. Well, that stuff, all that 2050 era stuff didn't even get like really a release here in Australia. I had to get it all from America. and around that time too. So I'd made friends and stuff who helped me out, but a lot of it I bought online. And I'm glad I did because, you know, as you can see, I've still got it on display and I've kept majority of it. And yeah, it's good stuff. It's fun.
Yeah, it's cool. All right. So have we got Ronnie talked into watching Snatch yet? Because that is ridiculous. He hasn't seen that movie.
Which one? Sorry.
Was giving Ronnie crap about Snatch, not seeing that movie.
Oh, Snatch. Yeah. I don't know if he's watched it since our discussion with him, but I definitely told him privately that he needs to do that. Yeah, there's some quality in that show, and if you like that show, you should be that movie. You should be watching Mobland as well. It's fantastic.
I haven't started yet, but I'm going to.
Yeah, do it, mate. Do it. You'll love it.
Yeah, I even liked Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. That was good.
Classic. Yeah, Guy Ritchie was brilliant in that era, and that's why Mobland's good. It's not as comical as those two films, in you know, but it's got its comical moments, but it's definitely grittier.
Yeah,
Tom Hardy's fantastic in it.
Well, I think I've asked you. I didn't really have that many questions. This has just been a nice, fun conversation.
I had one answer prepared for a question that you've asked of other people you've had on the show. And do you know what that question might have been?
The one about the toy line you'd want?
Yes.
So, any movie, cartoon, TV series, book series that doesn't have a toy line that you would love to have?
Yep. Absolutely. 6-inch Red Dawn figures.
Now you're talking the original Red Dawn, right?
The only Red Dawn that counts. The other one, we don't talk about the remake. Absolutely. Even though the remake has an Aussie in it, we don't talk about it. Yep. 6-inch Red Dawn figures. Think about it, Casey. All right. Patrick Swayze, Charlie Sheen, C. Thomas Howell, Jennifer Grey. Basically, the Wolverines, for the most part, you've got some famous faces in there, right? And the beauty of that film is that over the course of the film, they're wearing different stuff. So at the very beginning, they've got the high school Letterman jackets and stuff like that, and they're just in normal civilian clothing. Then it changes to more military stuff as they progress through the film, and they're capturing stuff of the people that they shoot. And they get different weapons throughout, all like, you know, Russian military style, Soviet sort of weapons, different hats, different helmets, and all sorts of things. You know, you've got also the Cuban army in there, like mixing things up. You got Powers Booth as the pilot that crash lands. There's a lot of room for good figures from that film, in my opinion. And it's never been done other than Super 7 doing some hokey, bloody reaction figures.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Super 7 fan. I did like their classics line, though. The Motu classics, those are just amazing. Yeah, no, Red Dawn was a great movie. It's one of my favorites from the 80s. I've probably seen it 2 times.
Yep. I watched it again probably about a month ago. It's still cracker.
I don't know who I was talking to, but we're talking about 80s comedies and how comedies today is nothing like the ones in the 80s. Like Fletch and Fletch Lives and Spies Like Us. It's amazing stuff.
Yep. Three Amigos.
Yeah.
Yep. Even I was a big fan of Richard Pryor when I was younger. Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy. Like, even Richard Pryor films, like, there's nothing like those. Blazing Saddles. You know,
that was the first movie I ever seen, and it wasn't a theater; it was a drive-in. My parents took me to see Blazing Saddles. I was young.
My dad and my uncles were big fans of Blazing Saddles.
So funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, can't do that anymore.
The world has changed, my friend.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Well, I want to thank you for this conversation. It's long overdue. I'm glad we finally got it worked out. Uh, I wish I had more toy questions, but I was just enjoying the conversation.
It's all
I feel
good,
like I
man.
know you better.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Yep.
That's what it's all about.
Yep. I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at Shark Eyes Toy View, where you'll catch me reviewing stuff like this. If you like Marvel Legends, or if you like Joe, there's plenty of Joe stuff on there. And I may have another Joe review coming in the next couple of days of something that hasn't dropped anywhere else yet. So, depending on when Casey gets this video out, this could be a sneak preview.
Yeah.
I will say the words retro. I'll put the words retro out there as a little hint. All right.
Yeah, I did pick up the retro Scarlet at last.
Great figure.
Yeah,
great figure. Yeah, that was one of my top 10 from last year.
Yeah, I was watching.
That's the prettiest Scarlet figure we've ever received. It actually, the likeness is.
I really liked. I know everybody hated the movie, but the Snake Eyes movie, I thought that Scarlet was good compared to the regular release. I thought it was good.
Yeah, like because it looked like the actress, so it was good. Just a shame that the movie sucked.
I enjoyed it, but I went in there with no expectations. I was like, "This is going to be an action movie, no GI Joe, really," and I was 100% right.
I enjoyed it until the giant snake.
That's the part I was like, "Yeah."
That's when it screwed the pooch, mate.
Yeah, but when we saw it in the theater. You ever listen or watch Anything Joe's?
No.
Terrific YouTube podcast show.
Okay.
They're all classified out, but you'd love it.
Okay.
But
I'll have to check it out.
They live an hour from us. So they invited me and Matt to come up, and they rented out the screen. So it was just us and their families, and it was fun. It was a good time. I don't know if it was mostly because the company and sharing, memories like that with your buddies. Yeah, I had a good time.
That's cool. I'm actually going to the movies tonight with my wife. There's a heritage listed cinema here in Melbourne in the eastern suburbs. It's called the Rivoli, and it's beautiful. It's a very it's like a Art Deco era theater. Mm-hmm. It's magnificent. And tonight they're showing Pulp Fiction. Ooh. And I never got to see Pulp Fiction in the theaters when it first released back in the 90s. So this will be a treat. But the cool thing about it is that what they've done is they've packaged it together with dinner. Like, mm-hmm. So you get dinner at your seat. And it's a Pulp Fiction themed meal. So there's like a big kahuna burger, the shake, whatever. Yeah. And like other different things. So yeah, that should be a bit of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen that in the theater, not the original release, but we have a small theater in Columbus where I live that will play older movies, and they serve beer and everything. It was a blast.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for Dogma's coming back.
Oh man, I haven't seen Dogma in years. Yeah. What a great film.
It's so good.
I love Kevin Smith stuff. This is very good.
Me too. Well, to a point. Clerks 2 I thought was blah. I love Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma.
Yep.
Then you get to Clerks 2, and I'm like, he lost me when they started singing ABC, and he had the not braids, but the pigtails. I was like, all right,
yeah.
Maybe I'm done.
Clerks 2 wasn't great. Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back was
that's a great one. Yes. I can't believe I forgot that one.
That's classic, that one.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines is that was, "My, what a lovely tea party." So funny, man.
Yeah, they're quotable films, mate.
Yep. All right. Thank you again. It was a lot of fun. This will air. I've had some great guests. You know,
You have.
Ronnie Lawrence, Dad at Arms was a fun one. He's a Motu guy.
Yep.
Very, very fun interview. Ken from Toy Connections. Those have all aired. Plus
Yep.
Wreck Ships.
Yep.
So next Wednesday, Joe Hunter 73s will drop. And the one after that is, I feel like Joe Hunter 73. My mind is a blank. I just did
it. It's all good, mate. Just keep the people wanting more.
Yeah. plus yours. It'll be out in like 3 weeks. So that was Lawrence took the time to sit down with me to help me figure out how to be consistent with these. He's like, record 4 and start releasing once a week and try to stay 2 or 3. So, and I appreciate any help I can get. We are trying to grow this. It's slow, but I mean, I'm thankful for every sub we have. So,
man, as long as you're having fun doing what you're doing and talking about something you're passionate about, that's all that matters. And at the end of the day, that translates to people enjoying what you do. So, you know,
and that's how we look at it.
It's like when I review this stuff, I'm having fun doing this. I'm not just doing this for views or for the squillions of dollars that YouTube pay us toy reviewers. That doesn't happen. Like, I just like cracking open new toys and talking about them. So, you know.
I know one of my favorite things to do if I let toys build up is to just find somebody who wants to talk. And I've got a special chat that's set up to where I don't record, and I just throw out invites and we just talk while we're opening toys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hang out with my friends.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. Like talking with like-minded collectors, and you know, like we've done today. That's what it's all about.
I've had a great time, and I really appreciate it.
I'm glad, man. It's been fun. I was looking forward to this all week, so I'm glad that we could lock down a time that worked for both of us.
I tell you, I had I thought this was last week, and somebody I've been trying to get on the show tried to confirm for last Friday. I was like, I've already got a guess, and it turns out I didn't. But I was like, we'll still work it out.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
Yeah, but like I said, I appreciate it, and you got to watch this ending that Ronnie hooked me up with.
Do I have to?
It's good. All right, thanks everybody.
Later all.